Truth be told, I really didn't want to make this video, but every time I post, people challenge me. How do I make an income? How do I get mail? How do I keep a driver's license? How do I pay taxes? And how the heck can I actually live in a car? I know a lot of these questions are just well-meaning, and I like the questions, but the challenge of how I actually am able to live this lifestyle, it does get a bit heavy. So I think now is the time to clear some of these things up, especially with the executive order making headlines and rumors flying rampant that this way of life is in danger. So I think it's time to just shed some light on how this actually works. Oh, wow. Look at all these questions. I think we're gonna have to spill our secrets. So first I'm gonna go over the most common questions. I do have like a subset of people who just really ask like literally, how do you do this? Kind of even challenging how I do this. And basically that comes down to, how do I do this without an address? I do have an address. I know of 4 ways that you can do this. I will be sharing that a little bit later in the video. The next big question is, how do I afford this? How do I do this financially? What is my job? My main source of income, Google AdSense. It's kind of complicated, but I will talk more about it. Google AdSense. A lot of people are asking about an upgrade, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna share with you guys the 4 vehicles that I'm considering. These are in alphabetical order. Number 1, Forester. Number 2, RAV4. Number 3, I don't want to flick you guys off. Number 3, Sienna. And number 4, Tacoma. A lot of people ask questions about Parker's leg. Actually, Parker's missing a leg, and so that's the thing. A lot of you all picked up on that too, that Parker is a tripod. I adopted Parker from the rescue where I was working at the time. I adopted him as he was recovering from surgery from his amputation. And his amputation was a result of a lack of grooming, and unfortunately they had cut off circulation, and it was a complicated surgery, and we're very lucky to have Parker. We're very glad that he pulled through. He is such a blessing, and I'm so happy to have him every day. Is my ultimate goal land or a cabin? I would love to have land. I would love to have a cabin. Buying property in and of itself, I mean, that's a big thing. But you could spend all your money on the property, but you still have to pay property taxes. You still have your other bills. So I just want to be a little bit more firm in my standing with my remote income streams. Kyle is asking about, do I remove people, or do I remove comments and block people, and why? Yes, Kyle, I remove a lot of comments, and I do block quite a few people. I do remove more comments and I block people. Just because I remove a comment, it doesn't mean I have anything against you personally. I do block a substantial amount of people, especially when there is a pattern of behavior. I mean, if it's like egregious like comments, yeah, I just block them. I block people who give very specific descriptions of what could happen to me when I'm out car camping. And I don't mean things like, oh, you shouldn't drive after dark. You might have trouble calling for help if you get a flat tire. No, I mean like very like detailed things. I'm just like, that just makes me very uncomfortable, because I'm like, why do you have all the details of some imaginary situation? I started blocking people who invalidate what I'm doing. I used to like argue with them or try and correct them. Now I just block them. Like, for example, if somebody's saying, well, if you care so much about what people think, then you should just take your YouTube channel down. If it's a negative comment, I'm not going to remove or block it. Or if it's disagreeing with me, I'm not going to remove or block it. And it also just depends on my mood. If I'm in a bad mood, then I'm probably just gonna block people more. Okay, what is my scariest night? You're gonna find out about my scariest night because it's in the next video, and oh, I got really creeped out, I'll tell you. Like, seriously terrifying moment. It was during the Texas blizzard storm, ice storm of 2021, and I was in my car at Walmart, and I was in a very vulnerable position. I was in Tyler, Texas, And all of a sudden, on this sheet of ice in this parking lot at Walmart, these kids came and they started doing donuts in the parking lot, and it was so scary. I was so scared. Let's talk about the executive order. Oh, and another reason I block people is because of misinformation. And I have unfortunately had like a bit of misinformation spread in my comments, just statements saying that sleeping in the car camping is now illegal across all states in the United States, and that is just not true. The executive order does exist. I have read it. I encourage you to read it. Regrettably, I can only talk about this, how it affects me. I mean, I wish I could be, out there championing for people on the streets. My heart goes out to these folks. I know what it is like. I went homeless, like on the street homeless, when my van broke down. I feel like on YouTube, when discussing the issue of the executive order, you're going to find YouTubers on both spectrums. So one spectrum is just hitting the panic button, understandably, in some cases. I hear you. Other people are just like, this is not a problem. It does not affect people like van lifers, your friendly van lifer. I tend to fall more in the middle. I don't see an immediate problem, but I do see how there could be secondary effects, and that would be possibly people who are living in cars being displaced to other places like the suburbs, exurbs, BLM land, or dispersed camping like where I am now. So that is my only concern, but I'm not changing anything in my lifestyle because of the executive order. And I will continue to delete comments about it being illegal to sleep in cars in the United States of America, because that is totally not true. And just to clarify, the executive order does not create a nationwide ban on sleeping in cars. It simply gives a local government more freedom to enforce restrictions if they choose. That means that there is no blanket federal law against sleeping in cars, but it could open the door for more ordinances down the line. That is the main thing that I would be concerned about. But for right now, it hasn't changed the rules in these local ordinances. So that's why I do delete comments saying that it is illegal, because it's simply not true. It is not accurate. This executive order does not create a ban on sleeping in vehicles. This is very different from simply allowing the authority to ban sleeping in cars. I hope you can see the difference. You do have to check the ordinances in any city you go into. If there is a city ordinance against sleeping in your car and car camping, don't sleep in that city. It's as simple as that. It's always been like that. Even before an executive order, you have to check the ordinances of each city. This is a localized thing. So I'm not gonna be baited into just going all postal on that. I'm just not. Some people ask how I go to the bathroom. This is like the last time I'm answering this question on this channel. I'm not answering it anymore. I'm not going to show it to you. I'll put it in the description. I have a women's urinal, and I use that. Oh, that was a big burp. And I use that. I also use public, when I'm in public, I use bathrooms. A lot of the times, like right now when I'm at dispersed camping, there's pit toilets. We love that. What job would I do if I didn't do YouTube? Oh, that's easy. I would work at Quick Trip with a K. People want to know how I charge my stuff. Oh, which reminds me, I need to bring my charging stuff in. I have my solar panel. Actually, I can leave it out for a little bit longer. I am also a fan of charging my devices while I'm driving. Just please, please do not charge them when the engine is off, because I did that for a while. I was like, oh, it works. And then next thing, my battery dies like the next week. So yeah, just as long as you're driving, it's fine. My fridge is usually running, but it's not always running. Somebody was asking about my clothing. Okay, let's step into the car for a minute. Somebody was asking where I put my clothes, what I do. This is kind of a cool system. So I have my clothes are in packing cubes, and they're stored under my cot. And I can just pull, oh, this is dirty clothes. I have my dirty clothes mostly in sleeping bag things. And it's really nice because I can just pull these out. So they're just in packing cubes under the cot, kind of in the boot, or kind of in the front. And then I can just pull it out. So that has been really helpful. My fridge is right here. It does not run all the time because sometimes I need to save power and it gets really cold and it stays really cold in here, but you be the judge, you be careful about that. But my fridge is super well insulated. Hi, Parker. Uh-oh, we left somebody out. Hi, Parker. I'm coming back out, okay? We have more talking to do. Oh, I hear coyotes out there. Definitely hear the coyotes. Best memory from on the road, that was recent, and that was in the UP when I had just been sweating all summer. It had just been a hard summer. It was the bear spray. It was just always hot. And then I went swimming that one day and Lake Superior, I just went in there, and I mean, I went all in. I went underwater swimming and just, that felt so good. That was my best memory so far. What are some cons about the Ford Fiesta besides the size? I was really thinking about this. Are you hungry? And I could not really think of any major cons, but I'll tell you the size, it is really problematic. And it's not just the cabin size, but you have these tiny wheel sizes. And when I blew a tire in Virginia last winter, I had a hard time finding the right size. And the guy working there told me that those small tires, they're just more susceptible to like bubbles and things going wrong. But it has a fantastic engine. To answer another person's question, how many miles does it have? I'm at 100 and I think 13,000 miles. So knock on wood. Oh my gosh, knock on wood so much. But I have not had any problems. I do maintain it. The next big thing I need to do is a timing belt. So I'll either fix the timing belt or I will get a new car. It just depends on my earnings and how I'm doing financially, what decision I make. I've had several people asking, will I start a Patreon? I am considering that. I want to bring something of value. I don't want to just start a Patreon just to start a Patreon without really thinking it through. It's not just like a one-time thing that I have. And if you notice, by the way, in my bio, I do have Buy Me a Coffee because enough people have been asking about ways that they can contribute. And right now I'm doing Buy Me a Coffee because it just feels more comfortable to me because it's just a one-time thing. You can have access to a monthly newsletter. You can have updates every month. I think there's like one update I'm doing a month and then a monthly newsletter. And there's also YouTube membership. So I would probably decide between YouTube membership and Patreon. You guys let me know below like which you'd prefer. We'll go in a minute, okay? All right, so before I show you my whole campsite and explain why I'm not sleeping in the car tonight, and I tell you more about YouTube and making money, let me talk about the address thing. Listen, this is just the things that I know of. I'm sure that there's other creative solutions out there. A lot of people ask about this, so I do want to give my best explanation that I can. And I know of 4 ways to have an address while living like I do. For my privacy and my legal, I guess like legal protection and privacy, I'm not going to tell you which one I'm using right now. Getting a family member or a friend, usually a family member, and just using their address. Yeah, that's great because you don't have to pay for it and you don't have to like worry so much. The other one is you can go to a nomad friendly state. That's going to be Nevada, Florida, South Dakota, Texas, and Arizona. South Dakota, I would be a little bit careful about. Things are changing there, and I don't know if it's come through or not, so you're gonna have to research this, but for somebody like me, this would be a major consideration because something that would really draw me to South Dakota is just that it's a tax-free state, but there are some changes being implemented that could perhaps make people like us, like nomads, have to pay an employment tax. So you definitely wanna research that if you are working for yourself. Just really quick about this tax thing. So although I'm just reading this off of ChatGPT about this 2023 potential tax on like anyone who's going to work outside of South Dakota if you have a personal mailbox in South Dakota. It says that this thing was approved in 2023 for this change that questions mailbox only addresses, so nomads. And this would be payroll and unemployment taxes. And ChatGPT says that enforcement has been really limited. So I didn't mean to, like when I mentioned it, I didn't mean to like rain on any parades. I didn't mean to sound like it wasn't feasible to be a nomad there while working. It just sounds like it's a possible concern, but as of right now, it doesn't seem like anything is really happening, but I don't know like what's going to happen in the future. So I just wanted to put that out there. I think Arizona would be a really good one. And so the third thing that you can do, and not a lot of people talk about this, but when we're talking about those like nomad friendly-ish states, where you can use services like Escapees, different mailbox services. Well, those mailbox services like iPostal, they exist like in all states that I know of. Yeah, I think so. So the problem is that in a lot of these states, they don't make it so easy to get them. These other states, you don't have to live there to get the personal mailboxes. But technically, I mean, look, if you're living in a house or an apartment and you obtain this iPostal or whatever mailbox, and then you move out of your apartment, yeah, it's getting into some kind of gray area, but I'm just sharing with you what I've heard of other people doing. And that is that they will get these mailboxes in whatever state that they're living in. So let's say you have an apartment in Manhattan and then you get a New York mailbox, personal mailbox, and then you're going to need that information to get your personal mailbox in New York. You're going to need your lease, copy of your lease, or like some kind of copy of like your property insurance or an electric bill. You're going to need that to get the personal mailbox. But then after you vacate that apartment or sell that condo or whatever, who's to say that you can't still have that mailbox? So that is one approach. I'm not condoning it. You need to look into the legalities of it yourself, but I'm throwing it out there because people do that. Now, the fourth one, this is one, if you really want to be a nomad and nothing else is working out for you, this one is not as popular, but you can declare yourself homeless. You don't have to like live in a homeless shelter, but you could go to like a daytime shelter and possibly use that, it's a center where you can get hot meals, take showers, and you can possibly use that as an address. Or you may not even have to go through all that. You may be able to just go to like a social services agency in the state you want to be a resident of or have a driver's license in. And then you just take it up with them, like, I've been living here and I don't have an address, and they sometimes will be able to help you. So those are the 4 avenues I know of. These personal mailboxes, you have to know that there's some negative things about them. If you want to purchase, I'm not going to say the word, I think, on YouTube, but you can use your imagination. There are certain purchases that you cannot just have a personal mailbox to make these purchases. Also, you're going to want to open bank accounts before you get these personal mailboxes. Don't try and open a bank account with this. Get your banking in order. I also pick up mail and packages like Amazon packages at Amazon lockers when I can, and I also use general delivery. Okay, I have a couple of rapid fire questions. Do I have a partner? I do not. My favorite movie, Anne of Green Gables. Will I marry you? No, sorry. Oh yeah, did I play any instruments in school? I was in the handbell choir. And my dream rig, I would say my dream rig would be some kind of large SUV, something that's like way out of my budget. I don't know, maybe like a 4Runner or a Land Cruiser, something with an Allo cab on top. Or even like a Tahoe or a Suburban with an Allo cab, but it's way out of my budget. I mean, the ones that I could afford would just have so many miles on it, it would not be worth it. And my age, I'm a millennial. Mileage on my car, I said that, 113. Okay, so I have a few more things to talk about. I have to talk about YouTube, and I have to talk about a post that I made that was talking about how I'm not going to be talking about like car life things. And I think it was like I was very tired and having a rough day when I wrote that post. So I want to clarify that. But first, let me tell you why I don't always sleep in my car, even though I live out of my car. You want to go to the tent? Should we go to our sleeping tent? Okay, this is my kind of garage here. It's kind of messy, but I have like my kitchen out, my tent stuff. That's like, even though I'm not sleeping in there right now, that is like just for lounging and stuff. You wanna go outside, buddy? We gotta go really fast, okay? So we don't let the skeeters in. Hurry. Okay, I'm back in the tent. Okay, so some people have asked me how, I think Jessica was asking, how do I do it? I can't do it all the time. I cannot, because especially when it's hot. So to answer Jessica's question, I do need to take breaks, and a lot of those breaks are camping. And some people have been kind of coming at me saying that I don't really live in my car because I camp sometimes, but you have to understand that, first of all, in the summer, it's just not safe or comfortable to always sleep in the car in the wilderness. Because right now, I am in total bear country, total bear country. I saw signs of bears just earlier today when I was walking. And my car, since I live in it, I have my fridge, I have my pantry, I have so much food that it is just not safe for me. It's safe for me to sleep in there, but I feel like I would have to have the windows up, and it's just too hot. It's too hot to be in the car with in the summer, even the early fall, like now with the windows up. It's just so uncomfortable. I think also just because my car is so small, I need a break from it. And that's why I'm just so big on camping. I feel like my camping videos on YouTube, they underperform. They never like do that well. So I think sometimes it may look like I sleep in the city more than I actually do. I've tried many times to incorporate more camping into my YouTube channel, but the numbers don't lie and the views just aren't there. And I just can't afford to make videos that people don't watch. And so I do tend to film more heavily when I'm sleeping in the city, just because it is more interesting to people. But I do spend quite a bit of time camping. I am noticing a few more questions about the hardest part about living in the car. And I know I talked about summer because that is the most overwhelming part. I would say like some other really hard things, and I have these right here. This is just an example, is everything is just always like breaking in the car. Like, I think it's just from overuse. For example, like power cords, I go through, this is just the latest, like I've gone through so many this month. Stuff just breaks constantly in the car. And I think the reason stuff breaks so much is just because it's under constant pressure. Like if you're plugging this in while you're driving, just the angle that it's at. And yeah, just stuff breaking. Like my cot just broke literally today when I was cleaning. My cot broke. And it's just the overuse of items. When you're kind of minimalistic, you're gonna like be using those items, right? Because that's what you have. And stuff breaks. I never thought my stuff would break so much as it has living in my car. I replaced the cord to my fridge. I've just constantly replacing cords, and that's really annoying. I would say the other really hard thing about living in the car has been eating. I'm still trying to get a hold of that. It's easier to do when I get out here. I can build a fire, I can get my stove out and really cook, but I'm just really have trouble being comfortable cooking in parks and things like that. I've tried, and I've tried to have an open mind about it, but I don't do it. I don't do it just because I'm just not comfortable. I don't know why. I don't have any problem with other people doing it, so I don't know why I don't feel comfortable, but I just don't. It just draws a lot of attention to me, I feel. So yeah, that's a real big problem. I think it will be easier in the winter because I can heat stuff up in the car more easily. I have not been able to do that all summer because when I heat stuff up, the whole car heats up. So that is why summer is so problematic, because it reaches into so many other already difficult areas like eating. The fridge itself produces an insane amount of heat. That's something that nobody told me about car dwelling, was that your fridge was going to produce so much heat. I mean, just out of that vent is just hot air coming out. And I think that'll be great this winter, but it sure has made summer more difficult. One other kind of crazy thing about living in a car that can actually be kind of hard is just how disorienting it can be. I literally wake up sometimes often and I do not know where I am, and it takes a while for me to come around. And something that pretty humorous that happened recently was I was looking for this dog park and I was convinced it was on the street, but it turned out that the dog park, I couldn't find it because not only was it not in the same city, it wasn't in the same state, but I just had mistaken it. And the more places I go, the more similar all of the places seem. And it really reminds me, if you're into Soviet history or film, is the movie Ironia Sudby, where the guy mixes up his apartment in St. Petersburg and Moscow and have their cookie cutter. But anyway, long story short, it can be pretty disorienting and wild. It's so much worse. I just can't get over how much worse the bugs are tonight without a fire. Okay, so as promised, I'm going to talk more about how I make money with YouTube. I became monetized in the spring of last year. What was that? Spring of 2024? Yeah. I put out videos for years that nobody really watched, and I put a lot of time into some of those videos. Not all of them. When I just started, I did not put time into them when I just started. But over time, I started putting a lot more time into them. So I worked really hard for a long time. I made a decision when I got out of the Mennonites that, well, I was just coming out of a horrible job, just a terrible, just really horrific job situation. I was working at a hotel. It was awful. And I decided that I did not want to work for anyone ever again. And I decided that I wanted to be a YouTuber. I wanted to do YouTube. It's kind of cringy. Like, I wanted to be a YouTuber. I wanted to do YouTube. And I decided that. And that was a couple years before I even put out my first video. But I just had that so strong inside of me. And I want to put out there that I love traveling and I love being a nomad, but I love making video like that. I love making videos probably even more than that. And I hope that's not upsetting to people. Being on YouTube, that's not the only way to be a nomad. In fact, that is not the way I started. When I realized I didn't want to work for anybody ever again, the first thing I did was online surveys. And that was great for proof of concept. It didn't make a lot of money, but it was great for proof of concept. And I recommend doing that. Just do something that will bring you some money online. Then I did like DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub. Hey, I really have no idea how I forgot to mention this, but the main job that I was doing at that time was selling items on eBay. So I was going to the Goodwill bins and then selling them on eBay. I was doing this out of my van. That's why it was always so messy in the back of my van. And I also did this when I was living in my Toyota Corolla before I moved into my Odyssey. So I don't know how I forgot that detail. I think it's just now it's been a few years. It's been several years almost. So yeah, I was selling on eBay. And what really got me started was my first work camping job. But I got really lucky because they paid for my housing. So I did that for a couple of years. And I didn't stop doing YouTube that whole time. So I was able to monetize on YouTube. But I mean, I have to tell you, like, I worked really, really, really hard. I mean, my OGs, like, you know this. Like, I didn't just, like, jump on the road and be like, I want to be a nomad. I'm going to do YouTube. Like, I worked as a nomad just doing food delivery. I worked in a warehouse for a few years as a nomad. So I didn't just, like, jump into this YouTube thing. This was, like, a long time coming. But I don't want to, like, discourage you because maybe you'll be better at this than I am. You know, maybe you'll put out your first video and you'll get monetized the next month. You know, who knows? Yeah, and I mean, the income is very volatile and I never know like how much I'm really gonna make, you know, each month. But I can say that it covers my bills. I have a lot of bills. I have 2 car payments. I have debt I'm paying off. I have car insurance. I have a dog. He has, you know, needs. I have to pay for health care every month. I have, you know, gas. I have food. I have a lot of subscriptions for my editing and stuff and just always replacing cables and stuff. And I'm sure I have other bills I can't. Oh yeah, I have gym, I have storage. So yeah, I have a lot of bills and the AdSense, it is covering the bills. Sometimes I don't have really anything extra. So in the sense, it is kind of like working in the warehouse where I was just living paycheck to paycheck. But you know, I'd rather do something fun and live paycheck to paycheck than do something miserable and work paycheck to paycheck. So yeah, it's working out for me and I don't know what it is, but I don't know how this works, if it's just karma or what, but whenever I'm having like videos flopping or I'm having like a bad month, I don't know what it is, but that's the month that my super chats, you guys give the super chats and my buy me a coffees, I don't know what it is, but whenever like I'm low in my AdSense, I have no idea if it's like God or the universe or what, but like that will like ramp up and it will even out. It's just crazy how it's worked out. It's just crazy because I had kind of a dip in the summer and then these buy me a coffee started coming in and I just put that on there because a lot of people were asking how they could support. So I did the buy me a coffee. So I also want to say that I do have other things going on behind the scenes that I have not shared yet. And these are not monetized yet. I realize that anything could happen. The algorithm could change. You guys could get tired of me. Like I realize that anything could change. So I am cognizant of that, and that's why I'm, you know, looking to broaden myself into other areas, other businesses and income streams. At the same time, I don't want to go ahead and try and fix something that's not broken. If this is working for me now, I don't see any reason to quit doing YouTube to ramp up food delivery. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If something ever goes wrong with YouTube, I know that I will probably tap into just work camping. And it's a little more difficult for me because I don't have a rig rig like an RV or a van that I can hook up, and I have a dog. I would say that if you're interested in this lifestyle and you don't have a dog, what I would probably do is probably just go to the city where I want to travel to or hang out in or be based in or travel around that area. Then just go to a temp agency and get a job. And yeah, it'd probably be decent pay, and then just find areas to sleep in your car. I'm like totally open to doing that, and that's probably what I would be doing. But because I have a dog, I was really forced to, I love YouTube, don't get me wrong, but I was also really forced to pursue something that's like dog friendly, because with YouTube and making my videos, I can be with him all the time. Like when I'm filming, when I'm editing, I always have my eyes on him. And so for me, that just like really works out. So I'm very like grateful for it. I have this kind of sinking feeling that this Q&A is going to cause more questions when this is supposed to be the end of all questions. Oh yeah, one more thing. I do want to talk about that kind of post that I made about how I'm not doing more like car life content. What I meant by that, I was having a really rough day. To me, like the residency, like how I go to the bathroom, just these logistics of my car, to me, like this is so boring. Like I get so sick of this stuff. You know, I get so sick of like, oh, where's the nearest Amazon locker? Like, oh, where do I dump my pee jug? Like, oh my gosh, like it's so hot. Like, where do I find camping? Like, I get so sick of this, but I think that I forget that like people who are not living this lifestyle, like they find that interesting, or maybe they're trying to get information about it and they find it interesting. So I kind of was a little bit grumpy, but I was just thinking about myself and not thinking about other people. So while I'm not going to dedicate my channel to that kind of content, I do want to kind of, you know, explain myself. I get really burned out when I talk about the day-to-day stuff all the time. This is all I do all day long. And so for me, I just get so burned out. Like I get sick of living in a car sometimes. I mean, not sick to where I would stop doing it, but it's like I just want to like take you guys camping with me. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to take you on adventures with me, but I have to, sometimes I'm selfish and wanting to do that because that's not what people necessarily want to watch. So I just, basically what I meant by that post is my videos, they're still going to be like bits of information like sprinkled in, and it's still going to be the overnights, you know, the urban. I have to take you camping sometimes. I just can't resist. But the channel is not going to be based on like, okay, video, how I pee in my car, like how I take, it's not going to be like that. There's so much information on YouTube, and I'm sure that if there's information you don't find on here, that you can find that online. So I hope you guys will kind of forgive me for my harshness on that post. I was having a little meltdown there. But yeah, life on the road, it has been good. It's been kind of hard, but I don't regret it. I'm not moving out of my car. So I hope, you know, not too many people unsubscribe. If I had clickbait, I don't mean to do that, but you know, I do need to get people watching my videos. So yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Love you guys. Bye. Parker. Hey, Parker.